Hey guys, Sean here. So I quickly want to do the Pick'em challenge because people have been asking me that I make a video on this. So I've never done this before, but I just bought the bundle. That basically makes me have all the stickers throughout the entire major. Maybe I can do one while I'm in London for the next stage if I can maybe like record something on my laptop. But anyway, let's jump right into this. You can't see it because it's blocking. It's being blocked by my camera right now, but there's the 3-0 pick straight to the right of me, and that's what I'm going to kick off with. I went back and forth with this between Liquid and Astralis, but I'm gonna go with Astralis just because they are the best team in the world right now. With that being said, I think if the two teams were to meet up in this stage, it is I would actually almost lean towards Liquid at this point. They've been boot camping in Europe, and I already considered them a strong contender to take out Astralis in the next event they went to. So um, that could happen and ruin this whole 3-0 pick for me. So, got to put a Astralis here. Obviously, since I then said I'm going to choose Liquid to potentially beat Astralis, I would have to put them down here. Um, but I will now go over to my 0-3 pick. So, the team that I think will go 0-3, and this was hard because before I saw the matchups for the first day, which were released recently, I was leaning towards either Spirit or Vega. Um, Vega has recently had a roster change of 2 players. We haven't really seen much of them lately. Spirit did beat them in a best of 1. Um, I recognize all the players on Spirit. Hibakin or whatever that guy's name was from Navi actually came back under the name Tony Black on Vega Squadron. So it's not like they're playing with a guy you've never heard of. This guy has a lot of experience and he's actually quite good. So I don't really know who's going to win that matchup. Honestly, whoever wins that matchup could very well advance out of this whole thing because the CIS teams always play very well and they're a hard counter to any super strategic team, um, like your Bigs, your Liquids, your Astralises. So those are teams that can steal maps off these top teams and even the middle teams that try to play tactically. So I wouldn't put it past those CIS teams to advance out of this. Um, I don't know. I might put them in my top 8. But back to the 0-3 team. Because of that, I actually went to Virtus Pro. And the reason why I'm going to Virtus Pro is because all the nonsense we've heard lately about how Bialy is going to quit the team, Pasha potentially retiring after the major. Um, Now, in my experience, dead teams always play super well. Whenever Abed Power was dead going into events back in the day, they would like win the event or play second at the event. Um, it's something about the confidence of the players goes up. They play individually. They're more willing to take fights and play for themselves outside of the system. So who knows? Maybe the Plow comes back. They prove me wrong. I would love it if that were the case. But because of everything I've heard, I'm gonna put them as my own 3 team. Now let's get to like the middle teams of this whole cluster F of teams. So this is where it gets a little bit difficult. I'm gonna put Big here because I would put them on par with like Astralis as the team that uses the utility best out of all of these teams. Um, Absent is a stud. He's very good. And we saw it ESL 1 Cologne next came into form. So I think if Big were to have a run deep in the major, they need next to play well. Obviously, Smuya is going to play better at his, as he progresses as a pro, goes to more big events. So I expect him to play better. But Big, in addition to their tactics, they need their individuals to come up big. And we know Tapson's going to be there. We need Next to be there too. So I have a feeling that they could do that. Regardless, let's see. So for my next pick, I am going to go North, obviously. They literally just won DreamHack Stockholm. AZ and MSL are peaking right now in performance individually. MSL looks very comfortable in the AWP. I really liked the fights he was taking at DreamHack Stockholm. And yeah, I mean, Valdi and Garby continue to look really, really fucking strong. So North seems like a shoe in for me. My next is going to be Hellraisers. And I think they are almost a lock to advance out of this. The one exception would be is if they like crumble under the pressure. They've been beating a lot of these teams with stand-ins at events. Like I remember at the last event they attended, they beat Gambit with a stand-in for Woxic because he couldn't get his visa. So, I mean, they are a very strategically deep team in addition to very skilled. I would put them as almost a lock to advance out of these 16 teams. And I think this is the point where it gets a little bit fuzzy. So I wrote down a couple more teams that I wanted to add. And I really like went back and forth with these. I'm going to put Nip in here. And I'm putting Nip in here not because I think that they're playing particularly great. They're playing better. Like they played better at the minor. They played better at DreamHack Stockholm. They obviously went out in quarters. But they get the first matchup of Virtus Pro. And starting off 1-0 means a lot in things things like this in Swiss stage. So I think that's a good foot to start off on for them. And honestly, they have enough skill to beat most of these teams. Like, they're a very stacked team when it comes to skill. My problem with NIP has always been the tactics portion of their game. I think they're very vanilla and they don't do much that's unique. So that's basically why I'm picking NIP. So I would obviously throw in Space Soldiers, but the recent news that Engine cannot attend this event, combined with the fact that Major actually sent out a tweet saying that their stand-in is their coach, who's a level 4 FACEIT player. Now, I don't know if he's like trying to hide the fact that this guy's super skilled and, make teams not prepare for them. But because of that, I am not picking Space Soldiers. In fact, they very well could go 0-3 and probably will go 0-3 if what he said is correct. Hopefully they can get, Engine's visa somehow expedited, get him back for some later part in the event. I don't know. Can you actually switch out players once the event goes live? Isn't that the problem that Astralis had a couple majors ago? I don't know if they're allowing that anymore. But hopefully maybe someone can clarify that for me in the comments. This is unique. This is interesting. So Gambit is a team that personally I have never liked watching after Zeus left. They play such a very vanilla style. So slow moving around the map. It bores me to death. They have such interesting and unique players, though. I love watching players like Hobbit and Adren make individual plays. But in 5v5 CS, they haven't looked explosive to me, really, ever. But now they have Blade coaching their team. So they've showed a little bit of promise with Blade coaching the team. I don't know if I want to pick them yet. They have so much skill and so many players that I respect on their roster, and I respect Blade as an in-game leader. So I'm kind of on the fence with them. Bulb and boot camping. I definitely have a lot of respect for Stanislaw and Shazam as players. Renegades, they're a team that we haven't seen since the player break, actually. I don't even know if they've been practicing. I have no idea. Maybe they've had problems getting everyone together because their players went back for break or something. They play like Jacob from Europe, Australia, 50 in NA, so like I don't even know. Are they playing right now? Not sure. Optic. I mean, I'm sure Renegades playing obviously practicing for the major, but Optic is a team that I think is super underrated right now. I think teams are sleeping on Optic, and that is why I'm going to put Optic here. There's two things that can happen at this major. Okay, they definitely have a very tough opening matchup against Liquid. Dude, like I don't think that they'll beat Liquid, but if they manage to beat Liquid, they'll go on to get out, obviously, the Swiss stage. If they lose, there's two things that'll happen. One, Config loses all hope in the team, screams his ass off for the rest of this stage, and carries them out of this all by himself. Two, somehow Config has faith in the team. They analyze why they've lost all the recent games they've lost, which honestly they've lost to pretty good teams. They lost to like FaZe, I think, and Heroic at the last event. And playing teams from your same country can be sometimes a little bit difficult. So I have faith that they can fix those problems and still advance out. And that brings us to our last spot. Bailu is a team that I could put here, but outside of Mirage, I don't know like what they really specialize in. Like they win all the other maps. Whenever I watch them, it's like their late game is so bad. It's so bad. Their early game is so good. Their late game is so bad. God, they play such bad fundamental Counter-Strike sometimes. dude, this is a hard pick. I think for this last pick, I'm gonna go a little bit crazy. So could go Gambit. I could randomly just pull out like a Renegades right now, even though I haven't seen them in forever. And I think personally, since Kassad has left them, they've kind of been like drowning. Honestly, they don't look as crisp as they did when Kassad was their coach. I think he brought a lot to their team. Rogue, I know, is a team that has been putting a lot of work in. I'm gonna go with complexity here. I know a lot of teams or a lot of people probably think they could go 0-3, and maybe they could. Honestly, they have a lot of very inexperienced players. This is a huge wild card pick for me. I think, they could very well go 0-3, but I have faith that with their boot camp in Europe, they're going to learn how these European teams play coming out of it, and that helps a lot for inexperienced players. From my point of view, because I've done tons of boot camps in Europe, and until you experience those scrims against Europeans, where they literally take the gloves off and scrim the hell out of you, basically, and then randomly they'll throw in like a really crazy execute. If Stanislaw is like taking those executes that he's seeing in the meta in Europe, and this is something that I've always done in boot camps, you take things that you learn in the boot camp from every team, and you bring it into the major, or you bring it into whatever tournament you're going into, and it makes you so much better. And that's something I think that Complexity is going to do coming into this, and that is why I'm going to make them my 8th team in my pick'em. So I don't know. This is honestly just like grasping at straws here, picking that 8th team. It could go a lot of ways. Honestly, I think Rogue, if Rogue were to go like heads up against Complexity, I think it's like a 50-50 game. I think if Renegades were to go like head to head against Complexity, that's a 50-50 game. Same thing with like Tai Lu going against Complexity on like half the maps. Yeah, I don't know. This Complexity pick's definitely an underdog pick, because even against, I'm looking at like they played against Gambit, I'd probably honestly like want to side with Gambit in a game like that. But like this is like me knowing that they're at a boot camp from what I see on Twitter, and hoping they come out strong from that boot camp. So yeah. Anyway, that's gonna be it for my pick'ems. I'm gonna try to do the next stage from London. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments, and thank you guys for watching. Peace out.